Joining us now is Tim Murtaugh, who is the former communications director for Trump 2020 and also the Trump 2024 senior advisor. Tim, great to see you. You have a unique premise and vantage point because you warned about so much of Biden's failures in the 2020 campaign. And now we actually have to unravel so much of what we've inherited from Joe Biden. So talk about some of the predictions you made that came true, some things that were even worse, and the work that now President Trump has to do to unravel this inheritance that Joe Biden gave him.
Yeah, well, it's great to be with you, Charlie, and thanks very much for having me on. We tried to warn everybody in 2020 what America would get itself into if Joe Biden became president of the United States, and by God, we were right about almost all of it. I mean, you may remember that he ran what everybody was calling the basement strategy, and we said that it was because he wasn't up to the challenge of going out on the campaign trail, articulating his ideas, answering questions coherently from the news media, and actually running a campaign like a grown-up candidate for president. We were right about that. Of course, the national news media said, oh, that was crazy. They're just being careful because of COVID. He's only hiding in the basement because they don't want him to get sick. And then, of course, they all played along the whole time he was in the White House when they were concealing his mental decline and all of that. And we said that Joe Biden was going to be a disaster for a lot of things. We said he was going to be a disaster on the economy. We said that we talked about immigration a lot. We said Joe Biden, and if you let Joe Biden and the Democrats be in charge of the White House, they are going to throw open the gates of America, and they are going to let millions upon millions of illegal aliens into this country, basically no questions asked. We pointed that out day after day after day. Of course, the national news media said, first of all, that's racist. And second of all, you have nothing to base that on. That is a baseless claim. Their favorite thing to say was, the Trump campaign claimed without evidence, they used to say. Well, now we've got plenty of evidence. And of course, President Trump is digging out from under of the, tens of millions of illegal aliens that are somewhere across this country. And every single time he does, the Democrats and the news media latch onto these stories. We've seen it with the alleged Maryland man and all that. And I think this is one of the greatest thing I think that President Trump is trying to do is defend the sovereignty of the United States of America. And that begins with fighting off the illegal aliens and deporting the ones who are already here.
So Donald Trump won a triumphant victory. What people don't understand, though, is when you win and power is changed from one regime to another, from a Democrat to a Republican, you have to get into the weeds to decouple away from so much of the decisions the prior administration made. And we're still learning about some of the gunk, some of the trash that Joe Biden left us, and also some of the landmines that Joe Biden left us. I mean, I hear from agency officials and from cabinet secretaries, they'd say, you have no idea, not just the staffing of the deep state, but regulatory measures, decisions that were made in the prior administration at the 11 p.m. midnight that can't be undone for a certain period of time, or else there's going to be a court injunction. Spring into action this season. It's time to put American meat on your table and support the ranchers who've been feeding this country for generations. GoodRanchers.com delivers high-quality American-raised meat to your doorstep. And right now, you can get free bacon, ground beef, seed oil-free chicken nuggets, or salmon for a year, then $40 off, a discount they've never offered before. Head to GoodRanchers.com and show your support for American ranchers today. Good Ranchers, American meat delivered. Tim, what also is Donald Trump working on as far as things that Joe Biden left him, the landmines and the decisions that he has to course correct on?
Well, there's one big one that has begun to come to light because President Trump just issued an executive order just last week on this, and it's inside the poorly named. I know everyone loves to name bills on the left. They name bills for exactly what they are not. But inside the Inflation Reduction Act, which did absolutely nothing to solve the problem of inflation that Joe Biden left President Trump, inside the IRA there was something that's come to be known as the Biden pill penalty. And what that is Joe Biden favored one form of medicine over another form of medicine. He favored what are called large molecule medicines. Think of things that you have to go to the hospital for, IVs and infusions, injections, those sorts of things. Favored those at the expense and discriminated against pill form medicine. And that's just a ridiculous idea because pills are 71% cheaper on average than other forms of medicine. They're cheaper to make, they're cheaper for patients, they're cheaper for the entire healthcare community. And look, patients groups, doctors groups, yeah, pharmaceutical companies, business groups, conservative groups, everyone told the Democrats at that time, if you do this, this is what's going to happen. And so it passed with 0 Republican votes. And what came to pass was exactly what was predicted. 70%, three-quarters of the R&D dollars have moved away from pills. That means that no new breakthroughs are happening. And we're talking about mental health drugs, Alzheimer's drugs, cancer drugs, those sorts of things. That means fewer pills hitting the market, raising costs for everyone. And again, pills are the cheaper, more effective way that people get their drugs, 71% cheaper on average. And that's what Joe Biden left us, the Biden pill penalty. And there is legislation in Congress to fix that. It's called the EPIC Act. But more likely, it'll be in the, as the president calls it, the big, beautiful budget reconciliation bill where Congress can do that. It's the Biden pill penalty, and it's raising costs of the healthcare system. Heck, Joe Biden said he was going to be the guy who cured cancer. Well, he actually made it more difficult by discriminating against and discouraging the creation of life-saving pills, life-saving medicines that people are used to. It's disgraceful.
And in the Inflation Reduction Act, there's over $370 billion to climate change initiatives. I mean, it's all over the place. So what did President Trump do last week? Remind our audience what exactly he signed and the significance of it.
Yeah, so it's an executive order that addressed the reduction of prescription drugs for Americans, which is of main concern. I'm paying attention to this. I have elderly parents, and like most people, other elderly people in my family, and the cost of the system is of great concern. And the EO that he signed instructs the Secretary of Health and Human Services, that's Robert F. Kennedy Jr., of course, to work with Congress. Specifically mentioned in the EO is to get rid of what's known as the Biden pill penalty now. Here, another way that the Biden pill penalty has been terrible, think about generic drugs. Generic drugs are a very cost-effective way that a lot of people get their medication. Think of Lipitor, for example, which is a well-known cholesterol drug. Because of generics entering the market, people can get their cholesterol medicine for basically pennies per dose. Well, the Biden pill penalty flatly discourages generics from even entering the market. And so those cost reductions never occur. And Charlie, I know this will resonate with the MAGA community here. Guess who has noticed what's going on with the Biden pill penalty? You're never going to believe it, but China. China knows what's going on, and China knows an opportunity when they see it, and they are investing in pill medicine research and development in ways that they have never done before, because they know that pills are the cheaper way, the more effective way for people to get their medicine. People will take the medicine they need if it's convenient to them. Heck, you can get pills in the mail. And so they're keeping their people healthy on the front end, while America, because of the Biden pill penalty, has backed away from developing pills. And again, 71% cheaper pill medicines over these other forms of medicine. Again, mental health, Alzheimer's, cancer, all kinds of drugs. The University of Chicago says 188 different cures have not been found since 2021, when the IRA and the pill penalty were introduced. And that means 116 million life years off the life expectancy of Americans who are living today. Is that your family? My family? I don't know. But it's the Biden pill penalty, and Congress can fix it.